Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro. 1, 2,
3. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, hour number 2, rolling out on a Tuesday, jamming back at you. And a lot to get to coming up here. Like I said, we got this huge poker scandal that's rocking the poker world. We'll get to that in hour number 3. And Vegas Golden Knights, you know, our news anchor here at KDWN, John Schaefer, always likes to sport his Vegas Golden Knights shirts on the day of the game. And it looks good on you, John. It looks good.
It's my nice 2019 playoff shirt, which I ordered, and it didn't arrive till after we were eliminated in the first round. So I believe this is the first time I've worn it.
What's the point of that? Change it to 2020 and get a refund because, well, hopefully they make the playoffs, which I think they will. They're off to a pretty good start.
Exactly.
All right, John, what is going on in the news today?
Well, Las Vegas home prices are closing in on their pre-recession levels. More than 13 years after the market peak, prices are now just $5,000 shy of what they were on average. But the Greater Las Vegas Association of Realtors says when adjusted for inflation, prices still remain a long way off from the peak. The median sales price of previously owned single-family homes was $310,000 in September. That's up 1.6% from August and 3.3% from September of last year.
All right, so here's my question on that one. If homeless people are defecating in front of your home, does the price go up or down? How does that work?
Down.
Okay, I was just curious about that. That's probably not good for the market.
No.
Very bad for the market.
And since we don't have grass, we don't need the fertilizer.
Exactly.
It just lays there on the rocks.
Right, exactly.
If you live in Nevada but don't receive health insurance from your employer, Medicare or Medicaid changes are coming to the way you get your insurance. Nevadans will no longer use the federal healthcare.gov site. Instead, signing up at nevadahealthlink.com. The state says it's saving $4 million in fiscal year 2020 alone by operating its own site. That site is open now for browsing with the actual sign-up period running from November 1st through December 15th.
Cool, man.
Caesars Entertainment has announced it's raising resort fees at a couple of its Las Vegas properties.
God.
Beginning October 15th, resort fees at Caesars Palace and Nobu will be $51.02 a night.
What?
At the Rio, they will go up to $39.68 a night. The fees of the properties going up $7 and $3 respectively. The company says the changes are being made to bring the resort fees in line with relevant competitors.
Scumbags. You know what I hate when, like, we have an $80 resort fee. Oh, really? What do I get for that? Do I get a free massage in the spa? Well, you get to use our touch-tone phone for free. You get cable. You get 8 channels for free. You get warm water and soap. Oh, well, thank you so much, bastards.
There you go. Oh, and it's too bad that JD has gone for this because this might help him with his food poisoning.
Ooh.
Guinea pig ice cream. It's not ice cream for guinea pigs. It's ice cream flavored like guinea pigs. The rodents are a traditional hot dish in some Latin American countries like Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia. In Ecuador, people typically cook guinea pigs with salt and serve them with potatoes and peanut sauce.
Oh.
But one vendor is taking things to another gastronomic level, serving guinea pigs as a cold dessert. To get the flavor, a pate is made from guinea pig's flesh, then milk and cream is added. It's refrigerated until it has the consistency of ice cream, and they say it tastes like chicken.
See, this is what the Vegas Take does. It really gets you an appetite because one segment we talk about people defecating and urinating in the streets and having to clean it up, and now we talk about guinea pigs being served as desserts. Gosh, I'm really hungry now. I'm just starved. I'm starved. Anyway.
Does the fact they say it tastes like chicken make it any more appealing? Because I don't want chicken ice cream either.
No, neither do I. What's the most disgusting thing you think you've ever ate in your life, John?
Dog.
You really had
in
dog?
China.
What did it taste like?
Just like meat. Didn't really have any kind of weird flavor.
See, I don't like octopus. It's gross.
I like that.
I'm not a big octopus person, but I've seen people like eat live animals that are alive.
Oh, yeah, I can't
like
do it live.
like live shrimp and stuff, and it's like I don't know how people can do that stuff. It grosses me out. I don't even like shrimp that are dead, but like the eyes are there, and I don't like looking at the eyes.
Yeah, I don't like my food looking back at me.
Yeah, it's just gross.
I can eat raw oysters, which I
Those
guess
are okay.
technically are alive because they haven't been cooked.
Yeah,
but
I can do that because they don't have eyes looking at me. But it's like, I don't even like it when people, like, sometimes at the dinner table, some people, they'll have a pig there and they'll have the pig head there, and it just it's a little bit too much for me. It kind of grosses me out.
I don't like when other people at the dinner table look at me either. I don't want to see their eyes either.
Yes, I don't want. That's a good point, actually. I don't even like doing that with my dates. That's true, actually. But I did have a chocolate covered ant in Manhattan. They do sell those. I did it just for the sake of doing it, and I didn't really enjoy the taste of it because I kind of held my nose and just swallowed. But
I've had the rattlesnake pizza at Evil Pie down on Fremont East.
Rattlesnake. So there's rattlesnake on there.
Yeah.
Was it good?
Yeah.
That I actually would
It
do
is
that.
good.
I've heard rattlesnake actually isn't that bad.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Schaefer. Thank you for joining us with the news
Certainly.
today. Very enjoyable. Go Knights, go. We'll see if they get the W against the Bruins. Yeah, I don't know where JD just left to defecate maybe in front of the building. I don't know.
I hope.
I don't know.
Right in front of the door.
I don't know where he went. But listen, when he uses the restroom, that's good news for me because it means the studio's not going to smell as much as it normally does when he doesn't go to the bathroom.
Good point.
So, yeah, we need that. All right, Mr. Schaefer, thank you for doing the news for us. We appreciate it. So a lot to get to. As I mentioned, coming up in hour number 3, we're going to talk about this big poker scandal that's rocking the poker world. We're going to do a little Vegas Golden Knights hockey, talk Major League Baseball playoffs. But I alluded to the story earlier. As you know, a lot of mass shootings throughout the country. It seems like we're talking about it on a weekly basis. You know, it was just recently the 2-year anniversary of the October 1 shooting here where 58 people lost their lives. And we always talk about how people need to be more vigilant, right? I grew up in Connecticut. We remember the Sandy Hook shooting, right? Of course. How can you forget that? Where a bunch of 7- and 8-year-old kids were ripped apart from their families and lost their lives. And it was the hands of a madman, a young child, 18, I think he was 18 years old, 17 years old, 19 years old, clearly with mental illness. Killed his own mother. But what did the mother do? Nothing. She knew that her son was mentally ill, couldn't even communicate with others. So she teaches him how to shoot a gun. So that's really smart. Because when you know your son is mentally ill, that's the first thing you should do. Teach your son how to shoot a gun, you dummy. She gave him access to the guns in the house. So what does he do? He takes those guns, he shoots her, and then he goes into Sandy Hook and kills a bunch of innocent, poor people. It's absolutely disgusting. And we talk about gun safety, we talk about gun responsibility on this show all the time. Well, guess what? I have a positive story to tell you now. A mom who I am calling a hero this morning. Her 17-year-old son planned to shoot up a high school, but the mother did something that I would hope that many parents would do but haven't done. She picked up the phone and she called the police. It happened in College Place, Washington. I want you to hear the mother in her own words talking about, she spoke to CBS News. She says that her son had been depressed for a long period of time.
I'm worried about his mental health and he needs help.
So you think he's safer right now in jail?
Yeah, I do.
And you're safer right now with him in jail?
Yes, I am.
That's a hard thing to admit.
Yeah, truth hurts sometimes.
You still love your son?
Of course I do. It takes a lot to do what I did. It wasn't easy.
Well, make no mistake about it, this mother is a hero. Apparently, she read her son's journal where he wrote about attacking his school on a specific date, April 20th, 2020, the anniversary of Columbine. The journal went on in chilling detail, talking about detonating pipe bombs and using multiple firearms to blast anyone in sight and execute survivors. This could have been horrific. This could have been, who knows how many people could have died from this. And this mom is a hero. We talk about gun control all the time on this show. We talk about red flag laws. We talk about mental illness. All those need to be addressed. Make no mistake about it. But one of the most important things in society right now, in my personal opinion, that can stop many of these mass shootings from happening is what this mother did. If you see something strange, you need to act on that. You need to call law enforcement, and then law enforcement needs to do their job. And clearly they did in this situation. Many of these shootings would not happen. You know, we just talked about the movie Joker and the Aurora shooting where that kid Holmes killed a bunch of people in that theater. The warning signs were there. For God's sakes, he has a psychiatrist that he was seeing before the shooting. But yet he was still able to find weapons. This is why we need red flag laws. Do you understand? This kid, when he turns, 18, 21, are you comfortable with this kid buying weapons? I'm certainly not. When something like this happened, you should not have the opportunity. You should not be allowed to have a gun, maybe not for the rest of your life, but until deemed safe in society. This kid is not safe. This is why we need red flag laws. So let me ask you guys this question that are listening right now. If you have a son or daughter, or if you did have a son or daughter, would you call the police on them? If you opened up a journal with your son or daughter, or your brother, or your sister, or forgot one of your parents, one of your best friends, would you call the police and say, hey, I think so-and-so is planning an attack to kill innocent people? Would you put your family member in jail if you knew that that family member was planning an attack on innocent people and wanted to kill innocent lives? I pose that question to you guys right now. I want to hear from you. 257-5396 is the number to call. 702-257-5396. Would you put your son or daughter in prison and call the police if you found out that they were planning an attack to kill innocent people, whether that's going into a school, whether that's, whatever, on a sidewalk, in a fast food restaurant, wherever? Would you call the police on one of your friends or family members? Again, that number to call, I want to hear from you. 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Listen, JD, this is why we need red flag laws put in place. And for anybody out there that is against red flag laws, for anybody out there that doesn't think we should have red flag laws on the books, shame on you, is what I say.
Did this kid have access to weapons?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if he had access to weapons, but what we do know is that in his journal, he wrote very clearly what he wanted to do.
He had a very detailed plot to literally murder as many people as possible in a school setting on the anniversary of Columbine.
Correct.
Obviously a huge deal. In my opinion, this mother should be considered for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, it's a very difficult thing what she did, but it's certainly the right thing.
I mean, if she saved 50 or 60 lives, assuming that he had access to weapons, I don't know that he did, or assuming he knew how to build bombs that he can detonate, et cetera. But, yeah, in a situation like this, it is actually you are doing your son or your daughter a favor because they're clearly not mentally right. They clearly need help, and out of love, you're helping them out. You're not – and if you think that you're protecting your kid by not turning them in, you're completely wrong.
I think that should be a federal offense. If you know,
you should definitely be. I mean, you should be complicit at that. You should be an accomplice. I believe.
Yeah, if you know somebody that is planning an attack to hurt or kill innocent people, and you don't act upon it, and what I mean by act upon it is if you don't call the police, you should go to jail for that. I actually feel that strongly about this.
Especially if you're fully aware that your son or your daughter has access to the type of weaponry required,
even if they don't,
to actually make their plan happen.
But even if you don't think they have access, it's better safe than sorry. You need to call the police. You need to call law enforcement. Number to call again, 257-5396. Do you have any stories about this? Would you make that phone call and put your son or daughter behind bars if you believe they were planning an attack to kill or hurt innocent people? Again, 257-5396. Let's go to Angela. Angela, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind here?
Hi there. I have a quick story about this. So I have a friend who, when her son was a teenager, she knew that he had mental problems and that he was violent, and she tried to get him help, and there's no help anywhere. They just kept kicking him from one doctor to another, medication to medication, never helping. When he became violent, she did involve the police and the FBI. She knew that he was, going to plan to do something or hurt someone at school, and again, nobody would help. They said, until we actually have him do something, we can't do anything about it.
Wow.
It got to the point where she was scared to even have him in the house. She locked her door at night.
Oh, my
God.
God.
He got caught taking a knife to school. He was intending to injure his teacher. He got caught with that knife, and because he has a diagnosed mental problem, they would not expel him from school because she was hoping they would put him in Peterson where he'd have more oversight, and they could, because they frisk them every day.
Oh my
and
gosh.
They would not expel him because he has a mental conduct disorder or some stuff
Angela,
like that.
and then we wonder, and I'm glad you shared that story with us, and then we wonder why these things happen and why the Parkland shooting happens, right, Angela? If you recall, that kid, 80 times the police were called to his house. And then we wonder how he had his hands on weapons and how he was able to execute that horrific crime and kill so many people. Your story is like so many others, Angela. We can stop some of these shootings from happening. Listen, we can't stop all of them, but if what you're telling me is true and I believe you, it's disgusting. And then we wonder why some of these things happen. It's horrible.
Right, and she was desperate. She's like, I know my kid's going to hurt somebody, and nobody will help me. And there's nothing I can do to stop it. And what would happen if he had actually hurt somebody? They would come back on her, everybody pointing the finger at her, when she called anybody she could think of, including the FBI, trying to get somebody to help her with this.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Angela. In some cases, maybe the parents are doing everything they can, and maybe they're not getting any help from law enforcement. Angela, thank you so much for sharing that story with us. We really do appreciate it. Thank you for the phone call.
No problem.
Appreciate that. Thank you. 257-5396 is the number to call. Would you make that phone call and put your daughter or your son behind bars if you knew that they were planning some sort of attack to kill innocent people? Would you do that? And do you think there should be gun restrictions? Do you think there should be red flag laws? I absolutely think there should be for situations like this. If this kid gets out of jail soon, should he be allowed to buy a gun in a year or two? Absolutely not. He threatened to kill innocent people. How could you be against these types of restrictions? 257-5396. Let's go to John. John, what do you think about this?
I'm for it, but with anything that you start doing like that and you start eroding our rights and our what we believe in. I heard you go from red flag to holding them federally responsible for somebody that cannot control another person. I mean,
okay, you're all over the place, John. John.
But yes, to answer your question, yes, I would turn them in. In fact, that wouldn't be a problem. But I wouldn't turn them in because I thought it was a federal crime.
Okay, John, you said a lot of things there. Let me be very clear with what I said. Let's just talk about this specific case when it comes to red flag laws, okay? We have a 17-year-old. The mother calls the cops. The 17-year-old has a journal. Hold on.
He lives with the mother.
Yes. The 17-year-old writes a journal saying he wants to kill a bunch of innocent people. And you're telling me we don't want to take his rights away and you're okay with him buying a weapon?
No, actually, in this case, you're absolutely correct because the parent is responsible for the actions of their child.
Right.
But you're not responsible for the actions of another.
So you're telling me,
I agree with
hold
that.
on, no, I disagree. Okay, here's why, John. Let's have a conversation about this. I'm glad to with you. Let's just say, John, you have a friend that is an adult like you who goes up to you and says, listen, I'm planning to kill a bunch of hundreds of innocent people at the craps table at a casino. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm serious. You're telling me you have no responsibility because he's an adult?
You're absolutely correct. I have a moral responsibility to do that, but not illegal. And if that was, I would have no problem telling that same friend, dude, you effed up. Because
John, I appreciate John, I appreciate
and you're saying that you don't believe that you should have a legal responsibility.
Yes, John, I appreciate your answer, but sadly, not everybody is like you. And if you put laws in place, it'll force not people like you, but it'll force others to act. I'm glad that you're a good person and you have a conscience, but not everybody does.
And that's a good point. If a friend says, "Hey, I'm going to kill 200 people at a craps table over the next week," but there's
people just don't know, and you can't. I mean, when you start holding people for something that you think like you said, concrete evidence with a journal or something like that. If somebody says something, the best you can do is tell somebody else. I don't think it's and definitely not. I mean, a lot of people will look out their blinds. They don't want to be involved either.
Well, you know what? Then they're cowards because if an adult came up to me,
a lot of people are conflict averse.
Okay, but
by nature.
John, it's very simple to me, and I appreciate your answer, and I'm glad you're being honest with us. But it's very simple to me. If an adult comes up to me, I don't even care they're a friend or I don't know them at all. If somebody comes up to me and says, and I believe they're serious that they're going to kill innocent people, whether it's someone going into a school or a mall, whatever the case may be, I'm going to act on it.
What makes you believe that they're serious, though?
Well, obviously, it's never a good joke to say you're going to kill somebody.
I agree.
But
past history.
But there are levels to it.
Okay.
I think there are different levels of threats, right?
Someone that you know has the capability of doing it. Someone that you know has a couple weapons at home.
If it's a friend that I've known for a very long time, and he got into it with somebody. I know he's hot-headed, but he's never been arrested before. I would kill that bastard. I don't take something like that seriously. There are different, I'm saying he just wants to kick his ass or something, just because you should never use the term kill, obviously.
Like someone says, I would destroy that guy.
Right. But if somebody that I barely know or somebody that I do know that I know is hot-headed and owns weapons and says, I've had it with life, I'm depressed, I don't want to be here anymore, I want to take a bunch of people down with me. You're damn right. I would absolutely call the police immediately, and I wouldn't think twice about it.
And you believe that you should be legally complicit if you didn't do that?
Absolutely.
If there is proof. If that actually took place and someone found out that you knew that.
Yes. It's just like if you know that there's a terrorist that is going to go on a plane and try to take a plane down, and you don't do anything about it. If you overhear somebody in the airport, maybe, I don't know, overhearing them saying something, in regards to those terms, and you don't notify somebody, absolutely. absolutely you can be held partially accountable if you don't act upon that. We need our due diligence as citizens. 257-5396. Let's go to Matt. Matt, what's going on?
What's up, Matt?
Hey, what's up, guys? So, 2 points. One, first of all, there are plenty of crimes. If you have knowledge of the crime, you are culpable or liable if you don't report it.
Well, we're not talking about shoplifting. We're talking about killing innocent people.
Right, I know this. Yeah. So my point is, it should apply across the board.
Exactly.
But my main point is this: like, how do you deal with? Let's say we get red flag laws in place. What's the best method of dealing with someone who's threatening or otherwise potentially going to commit an act? You say lock them up, but I don't think that's an effective method for preventing it from happening, right? Like, it's not deterrent. So, it seems to me there needs to be a more thought out process for addressing it and dealing with these people that have issues so that it doesn't escalate.
Well,
so
Matt, that's a valid
flag.
No,
what do you do?
I'll tell you what. I'm up against a break now. We got to take a break. When we come back,
down to the root problem.
When we come back, JD and myself will respond to your question because that is a loaded question, and we want to give you a long answer because I think it needs that sort of attention. It's a good question, Matt. We're taking more of your calls. 257-5396. Again, that number to call 702-257-5396. Take a break. Be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro rolling out on a Tuesday. Glad you could join us. Coming up here in hour number 3, we'll be talking about this poker scandal that is really shocking the poker world. We'll get to that coming up later on. Also, Brian Salmon from Channel 3 will be joining us in hour number 3, breaking down a big hockey game tonight in Vegas, the Vegas Golden Knights and the Boston Bruins. We've been talking about this 17-year-old who planned to shoot up his school, and then his mother turned him into police. He's now behind bars. She is a hero. She saved lives. This is why we need red flag laws. Let me be very clear on this. If a wife gets into an argument with her husband, or maybe he cheated on her or something personal happened, if she just calls the police and says, hey, my husband said he wanted to kill me, and my husband said blah, 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 blah. No, I'm not saying that is enough to justify taking this man's weapons away. However, there needs to be an investigation. And if an investigation shows or immediately shows that the husband texted his wife or left a voicemail threatening her life, you're damn right away, take his weapons away. Gone. Goodbye. This is why we need red flag laws put in place, because lives could be saved. What do you think about this? And the question that I pose to our listeners out there, what would you do if your daughter or your son threatened to go into a local school and kill innocent people? Would you turn them in, or would you turn your back on them? Or would you turn your back, I should say, on the threat? And yes, even if it's not a family member, if it's just a complete stranger and you overhear somebody saying how they're going to commit a crime, yes, that should be reported to police. And there should be consequences if you don't. Now, certainly there are certain levels of that, but I am for red flag laws. I know, JD, you are as well, as long as they are logical. And we're taking your phone calls at 257-5396. Again, that number to call if you want to be a part of this conversation, 702-257-5396. Why don't we start off this segment with Jay? Jay, what do you think about these red flag laws?
What's up, Jay?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I think the red flag laws are pretty ridiculous, if you ask me. I mean, we're venturing off into thought crimes at this point, and a crushing blow to individual freedoms and liberty. The concept of innocence or proven guilty would take a huge blow if any sort of law like this were to pass. And I think it's just a tragedy that we think we can legislate evil away.
All right, well, Jay, let me ask you a question then. Let me try to be specific here and ask you about this specific case that we've been talking about. We have a 17-year-old in a journal that's saying he planned to shoot up a school on the anniversary of Columbine. Do you not think that police should do anything about that? That shouldn't be a red flag? If this kid was, say, 20, 21 years old, would you be comfortable with him buying a weapon? You're okay with that?
Store owners have the discretion to sell guns to whoever they choose. They are not forced by any means.
I didn't say they didn't have discretion. I'm asking you a very specific question. Are you okay with this kid going into a gun show and the people selling him the guns aren't aware of this information, but yet law enforcement is? Are you okay?
Obviously, police officers can go by, talk to the kid, see if he has weapons. Obviously, you have to be 18 or older to purchase a weapon.
What about
So if he has
Parkland?
weapons legally-
What about Parkland, where 80 times the police were called out to that young man's house, and because we didn't have proper red flag laws in place, that kid was allowed to not only purchase guns but own guns, and all those people are dead. And you're talking about, the Second Amendment, and you're talking about the Constitution. Why don't you have that conversation with the parents of those kids that have lost their lives? You understand what I'm saying, don't you? I respect your opinion.
You just switch from a logical argument to an emotional argument.
No, it's not emotional. It's logical. People lost their lives, and I believe if we had red flag laws in place, the Parkland shooting wouldn't have happened. That's not an emotional. That's a fact. I'll say it again. The police were called to that kid's house 80 times, and people like you are so against red flag laws.
He probably would have been the top red flag in the entire state.
Yeah,
80 times is a lot of time.
Jay, how do you
to have the police show up to your house?
Go ahead, Jay.
What law did he break to be thrown in jail for a thought crime? You have to tell me, what law did he break?
He made threats. And if you make a threat, that could be considered a crime. In fact, usually it is a crime. Unfortunately, the police over there didn't take those threats seriously. God, I don't know why. I really don't know why. But any type of threat. Let me give you an example, Jay. I'll give you in the easiest way possible, and I hope you understand where I'm coming from here. Let's just say you're married, okay? Let's just say a woman threatens her husband's life and says, I'm going to kill you. I have a gun, and I'm going to kill you when you get home. Okay? Now, if that husband shows that text message or that voicemail to the police, you're telling me you're okay with that woman not only carrying a gun, but legally buying a gun, and you have no problem with that?
No, see, the problem you're running into is it has to be a credible threat, and it has to be a specific threat.
All right,
So
well,
in
I just
that
gave you that
instance,
instance, yeah.
So in that specific instance, that would be a credible threat, and it would have weight behind it in order to get a...
So you're okay with some red flag laws then?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What you're doing is, the problem you have to consider is take the law that you want to enforce and think about the worst outcome that law will produce.
If somebody makes a threat to kill somebody, are you okay with them owning a gun that day and purchasing a gun? It's a very simple question. A threat of someone's life.
Yeah, general threats of violence are something that happens every day. I mean, you just turn on the radio.
It's not what I asked you. I'm not asking you about a general. I'm not asking you about a general threat. I'm being very specific here.
And we're not trying to create the semantics between a general and a credible threat.
I'm not saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to punch you in the face. No, we're saying I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, general threats of violence. And that's not. So, are you saying that it has to go down to the person has to say the word kill? If not, then
every situation is different. I'm giving you a specific circumstance where somebody says they are going to kill somebody or someone, and I'm asking you a very specific question that I think deserves a specific answer.
The only thing that would change is people wouldn't say kill, and they would use some other word, and then the law would just keep broadening and broadening.
So we shouldn't do anything about it then. We should just let people that say they're going to kill people buy guns. We shouldn't do anything. Is that your solution, Jay?
You're saying that. Nobody else
Well,
is saying.
so what should we do about somebody that says they're going to kill somebody then? I want to hear your solution.
Okay, now you have to understand the rule of why we have the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment...
I don't need a lecture about the Second Amendment. I'm asking you a specific question. If somebody says they're going to kill you, what should we do about that person?
You can get a restraining order on that person.
A restraining order does not stop them from purchasing a weapon. A restraining order will not stop somebody from going into a gun show and buying a gun.
And nor does it take away their weapon.
Right.
Legislate away evil. And
so your answer, your answer, and by the way, a restraining order takes time. So your answer to a husband or wife who was threatened by their spouse to kill somebody is go file a restraining order. That's your solution, Jay?
What about a stalker? What about someone who has sent you pictures of your home?
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
Yeah, you're just looking at it from one side. The other side.
We are looking at it from one side.
Someone's accusing you.
The side of the person being threatened.
All right.
So he's afraid that at some point someone's going to frame him and accuse him of doing and make a call and then steal his cell phone and send a text while he's sitting there tied up to a chair or something.
Exactly. And by the way,
he's afraid for his own personal good.
Yeah.
We're saying from the perspective of someone who is being either assaulted, threatened by a spouse or a supposed friend or a stalker.
And by the way, Jay is clearly ignorant to this fact that many people have filed restraining orders and they've been killed. Okay, restraining
absolutely.
orders don't stop people from killing other people with guns,
and they don't take the gun away.
Exactly. Yeah, Jay, I think we got Jay on that one. 257-5396. 702-257-5396. You know what's amazing when I talk to people about gun control and they say, "No, don't take my Second Amendment away. Don't take my guns away." And I say, "Okay, let's hear your argument. What is your solution?" And it's radio silence. They don't have a solution except some nimrods say, more guns, more guns. I'll listen to you. I'll hear what your solution, what you think the solutions are. But if you don't have any solutions to gun violence, then don't you talk to me about the Second Amendment. And don't you talk to me about more guns if you don't have any solutions. 257-5396. Let's go to Jane. Jane, what's going on?
What's up, Jane?
Yeah, hello. First of all, I want to clear something up here about, it's not about Second Amendment rights or anything like that. I was an abused woman.
I'm sorry to hear that.
In my first marriage.
I'm sorry.
And thank you. The restraining orders aren't going to do anything. My husband threatened to kill me in front of a judge.
Right.
So that's irrelevant, having a restraining order. As far as gun solution, I am a card holder, and I would like to believe that I earned that privilege,
right,
to be a card holder.
Mm-hmm.
But my child is also a card holder, but a very unfit card holder, and I have tried to have her blocked through a doctor, talking to the sheriff themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a mental health issue.
Sure, absolutely. So let me ask you a question, and I want to go back to what you said earlier. And by the way, I'm very sorry you had to go through that. So you said something very interesting that I agree with you on. A restraining order doesn't mean much. If that person wants to hurt you or kill you, they're probably, sadly, going to do that, especially if they're stalking you. So let me ask you a question. What would you say to that last guy who called in when I said, well, what would you say to somebody like you, who you have an ex-husband who threatens your life, and his response to it, just file a restraining order? What would you say to somebody like that?
It's not going to do any good.
Right.
I specifically took a class due to the abuse of the husband, so that I would know. And I was told off the record, because I wanted to know how to maim him. I wanted to put him in a wheelchair if he ever threatened me.
Right. I don't blame you.
Came onto my property.
Right. I don't blame you.
All the deputy told me was, never shoot to maim. You shoot to kill.
Well, let me tell you something, Jane. Okay. And by the way, I really do appreciate you sharing that story with us. Let me just say, you're the type of person that we want to hear from. You're the type of people that these legislators and these politicians should hear from. You're the one who experienced this. You're the one who went through it, and that is why we need red flag laws, because of Jane's story. Jane, thank you so much for your call.
Jane, thanks for the call. And answer me, how's Vegas treating you?
We got to move on to our next caller. 257-5396 is the number to call. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Jim. Jim, what's going on?
What's up, Jim?
Jim, are you there? Did we lose you? I think we might have lost Jim. 257-5396 is the number to call. Why don't we go to Dale? Dale, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hello, or good early afternoon, or good late morning.
Good morning. What's up, Dale?
You got a lot of comments, interesting callers, and I agree with you. We definitely, as much as I hate to infringe upon people's rights, but, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Exactly.
We do have a moral and also a legal responsibility to report these people that are unstable.
Absolutely.
In this case of this lady, this fine woman that did report her son, she did have some evidence,
right?
Okay, to substantiate it,
and that's required.
We got to be careful. It is a slippery slope. There needs to be evidence to support something to this, and an evaluation process also needs to be legislated, put in place to either alleviate or relinquish these people, let them get their rights back, or you got to bring some clinical evaluations into this.
Dale, and you're right, and make no mistake about it. Like I said early, and you heard me say this earlier, Dale, if you tuned in, if somebody just makes an unsubstantiated threat, I'm not saying take that person's rights away. There needs to be an investigation. But if there's something obvious, like a text message or a voicemail, then yes, something needs to be done immediately.
You have something substantial
of course.
to go on, and the authorities need to watch these people, and they need to follow up on it.
And it was really troubling how Jay said, well, then they're going to change the word that they use. They're going to change their verbiage. It sounded like he actually had a little bit of experience on the bad side of this conversation, but there cannot be a gray area with this. There has to be some type of substance or some legitimate reasoning behind actually making this red flag law happen and to take the guns away or to do whatever to stop this person from possibly following through with their threats.
JD, all we're talking about here is logic, right? Let's just be logical.
It isn't rocket science. It's very simple.
Let's just be logical. If somebody just doesn't like somebody and they make an unsubstantiated threat, that's different.
If someone's if you're, say you have a coworker who is vying for the same position you're vying for,
right,
and they make a threat that they claim that you're threatening them, then obviously that's a gray area. And I'm sure situations like that are going to take place. You're going to have people that are going to try to abuse the system to enrich themselves. That's going to happen,
of course.
And obviously, when the red flag law comes out, it won't be perfect, and there'll have to be changes made and wrinkles.
We talk about. I say this word logical.
Something has to be done.
We need logical gun legislation. We need logical red flag laws put in place, and we need logical people on the left and the right to be able to come together and put these on the books. 257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 257-5396. Let's go to Mitch. Mitch, what's up?
What's up, Mitch?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Going well.
Appreciate taking the call.
Sure.
I listen to you guys on and off. I am a Trump supporter. I don't agree with everything he says and everything he does, but I just think he's more on a path closer to what I believe. I did not vote for him. I do not vote because I think both parties are just as bad.
Mitch, you and I have a lot in common when it comes to that. Yeah. I agree.
And one of the and I agree with you. I almost hung up because your last statement kind of like wrapped it all up. Is that we need to be reasonable, but the problem is that that laws escalate, right? And so you say we're going to have a law that's going to be very confined. It's going to be very specific, which we all know laws are not like that, And so then it doesn't work, and then you expand the law, and then you expand the law, and you expand the law. And I can understand how. Now I'm from New York City, so there was only two people that had guns. Cops and robbers, right?
Right.
So we didn't hunt, So I've never held a gun in my hand, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
I'm not. I don't like guns. I know that, but I also know that the guns necessarily aren't the problem,
right?
And I think what happens is the more we focus on the guns, the more we get away from the problem. What you guys are talking about, like this red flag law, I think is absolutely fantastic. However, the danger comes from something that Bill Clinton said many years ago. It depends on the definition of what is. Right?
Mitch, can I interject here? And by the way, I don't disagree with you. We can't get crazy with these red flag laws. They have to be logical. But I'm going to pull back on something you said. Yes, mental illness is a big issue here. We need these red flag laws in place. But yes, I do believe that some of these assault weapons that are built for one reason and one reason only, and it's not to kill deer. It's to kill as many human beings as possible. We have to look into some of these weapons that are being used in some of these mass shootings. Yes, I get it. If you're a responsible gun owner, if you don't have mental illness, you're not going to use these guns to kill people. But I still don't think that is a reason to not do anything about it.
I agree with you totally. However, the issue then becomes we're now starting to define what the Second Amendment means for us today. Right? So we look at the founders and what the Second Amendment meant to them when they wrote it. That is a huge issue. That is an issue that takes two level-headed sides. And let me tell you something.
Which we don't have.
We don't have. And you know what? Because it's so bad right now, my opinion, the next 2 or 3 presidents, it's just going to be back and forth.
Sadly, Mitch.
Go back and forth.
Yeah.
And you know who suffers? We are. We're schmucks.
Sadly, Mitch.
We keep putting the same people in.
Sadly, Mitch, I agree with you, and I think we agree when it comes to the voting stuff. And you're right; both sides are at fault on this issue. But when it comes to proper gun legislation, I'm going to put more responsibility on the right because they don't want to do anything. At least the Democrats want to do something. 257-5396. Let's go to Frank. Frank, what's up?
Your second previous caller said about the few against the many, and And so the few brilliant should have to suffer. Let me tell you something about our species. We've been compared to rats and roaches. Let me tell you what rats and roaches
just me.
do.
That's what my dates call me. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Rats and roaches will cannibalize, and so will we. In fact, we've been considered the worst virus on the face of the earth because allegedly we can think. And that's all. I'm a radio whore, but you're doing something right, Brian, because
I appreciate
hate your ass and I still call you.
Well, you know what, Frank? Let me tell you something. Let me be very clear on this one. You're the type of callers I like. I would rather have people like you call in and hate my ass, but still listen and still call in and get into good debates than have a bunch of people call in and agree with me and perform fellatio on me on the radio. I don't want that. I want people to
thanks
call
for the call,
in.
Frank.
Yes, and I appreciate your honesty, Frank, and we appreciate the fact that you call in. 257-5396. Why don't we try to squeeze in one more call, then we'll go to break. Let's go to Brady. Brady, what's up?
What's up, Brady?
Yeah, good morning, guys. I wanted to bring up that red flag law, and it's basically a failure of the system. It's gone way too far past the government stopping that buyer who had a mental issue or was on psychotropic drugs. They're already in the system with their gun, and now they want the U.S. citizen to narc on somebody else. Say, what if I forgot to just take my gun up and I walked into Walmart now? Am I going to get red flagged?
That's not what I'm specifically talking about, Brady. So let me ask you a question because you always take it to the right-wing extreme. So I'm going to ask you a very specific question. This 17-year-old that said he was going to shoot up his school, he had a journal. There's proof. Okay, the mother turns him into police. Are you okay with this person buying a firearm when he's 18 years old? Would you be comfortable with that, or would you support some sort of red flag law, or should we let this kid just buy a gun when he's 18?
What was the Parkland shooting in Florida? That was a classic example of what happens, a failure for the system to stop it. Of course, I
agree.
want somebody like that has basically a behavior that's already been logged.
So, Brady, why can't your fellow Republicans come up with something like that? I mean, I think we finally agree on something. I'm talking about these are extreme cases. Why can't Republicans put something on the books so that the Parkland shooter would have never had an opportunity to kill innocent people? Why, Brady?
Did you remember the thing that Obama put in place still when you had problems in the school with the black kids and the minority kids that they wouldn't report it? That was a problem. That was a failure what ended up with the Parkland shooter because they didn't want to report the statistics that the people were getting in more trouble than the other kids. And that was a bad thing. That needs to be looked into.
Well, I think red flag laws need to be looked into, Brady. I think we made some common ground there. Obviously, if somebody goes to your house 80 times, that's probably a red flag. You know, I could talk about dating for hours and hours on end. You know how you talk about dating red flags, right? When you're going out with someone and, oh, boy, you hear the term, oh, that's a red flag. I probably shouldn't go out with that person again. Well, guess what? We should do the same damn thing with guns, okay? We need red flag laws put in place with guns. Would you go out with a woman who steals stuff from your apartment? No. If you go out with someone that's a thief, you're probably not going to go out with her again, okay? If you hang out with someone that says they're going to kill a bunch of innocent people, you probably are going to not want that person to buy a gun. It's the same thing. That's why they call it a red flag law. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it is a poker scandal that has rocked the poker world. We'll explain when we come back. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM.